Thomas in Bolden's face. Harmison, though, is underneath the bucket where he likes to be. 89 to the Kings, but the Hawks are 97. Keogh again. And rebounded cleanly by Dean McDonald, who probably expected more of a contest from the Kings. Now, Illawarra can make this a 10-point lead on this play, maybe more. Lafleur. And Williams has done as good a job on him as a lot of players in recent weeks, but Andre Lafleur is too good. And that is a 10-point lead. And time running out for Sydney. Oh, turnover again. Dean McDonald gets round Dalton. Mal Cooper says it was a foul. No basket.
That is just a good foul by Mark Dalton. Once he got by him, I'm surprised Mel Cooper made that call because they talk about that advantage so much.
It would have been 2 points for sure. And Alan Black's called a timeout here.
Well, he wants to make sure his guys stay focused and do what it takes to finish this basketball game out and win it.
Greg Hubbard getting ready to come into the game. 99-89 with less than 2.5 to go. My money's on the Hawks. He's got the ball now. Now this kid can play, and he makes it.
Isn't this something? Look, Liz. Come on, let's have a go.
Here's the tip-off. Whitehouse swats it down to heel. He fakes. He drives inside the keyway. Slips the ball again. Scores!
Oh, very tricky.
Well, that man, Damien Keogh, has done his best to keep his team in the game. He's had 19 points, 3 of 8 from the perimeter. He's just gone off the boil out there in the second half, which Illawarra has outscored the Kings in 53-30. You have to back them from here. And they've got possession, chewing down some more time, which the Sydney Kings can ill afford. Thomas. Oh, cuts through. Passes to McDonald, draws a foul. And this is good play from the Hawks.
And they get the basketball on the side.
Well, both teams in the bonus. Melbourne's on the line to improve this 10-point lead. 2 minutes left now. And, well, it looks like Sydney will have nothing but pride to play for next week against the Melbourne Tigers. 5 weeks out from the season. They are definitely history. 101-89. This has got to be one of Sydney's worst second-half performances of the year. Only 30 points so far. Trimmingham spins and banks it. They're pressuring Lafleur, but they just haven't got the time now, Sydney, to chew up this lead. And Lafleur is one of the masters of controlling the tempo. There he is.
You see Lafleur go get the basketball back. They want the ball in his hands. He shoots about 80% from the free throw line.
Oh, beautiful play on Lafleur. 26 points for the game. He shot 56%. Not bad for a guard. Keogh, not bad for a guard either, trying to keep his team with a look, but they have no look at all now. 103-91, just over a minute left, and Illawarra toying with Sydney. This is the team that is on a great winning run. Everything going the Hawks' way now. Well, Melbourne loses the handle, but Roger Shields says Keogh fouls him. And this is just a miserable end to the game for Sydney. Just as a matter of interest, the Kings made only 31 points against Adelaide. That's their worst second half this year so far. They've actually just gone past that, but it's comparable.
What a half by the Illawarra Hawks.
Oh, they just changed the game around. Alan Black sent them out there in the third quarter, and they were just a different team. They have cracked the Kings and contained them. And Melbourne taking his time. This has been one of the best wins I've seen Illawarra put together for some time. They buried Sydney earlier in the year at the Snake Pit, but this had a lot more character because they came from a long way back. Greg Hubbard takes the rebound. Just trying to improve his own stat sheet now, Greg Hubbard. He can't even do that. Nor can Trimmingham, but it's eventually touched in by Brad Williams. 105-93. And Illawarra don't think they can't do some damage in the playoffs this year. They've beaten Brisbane, they've beaten South East Melbourne. Dean McDonald misses the shot, but he doesn't care. Damien Keogh does, because if he retires at the end of the year, it'll be a lot sooner, because Sydney will not be in the playoffs. Dean Utah probably realises that in his last season. Andre Lafleur, though, looking ahead. Illawarra with much greater things to come in 1995. And there are the fans. Well, it was worth the trip. 105-93, and marvellous Melbourne joins in the celebration. 105-93. Let's go to Steve Carfino with Dre.
We could feel it all night in the air. Illawarra versus the Sydney Kings, and this was not a letdown. What did Alan Black say to you guys at halftime?
Well, he just pointed out that we were really soft in the first half. Sydney came out to their credit. They threw everything at us, and they played really well. They were very physical, and we weren't very aggressive. So he just told us to get back to playing that aggressive, scrapping style of basketball. It's been winning us some games.
Well, how about you? You started off a little slow in the scoring department. Did you look to score in the second quarter?
Not really. I just wanted to, keep things going with the continuity that we had on the team. I thought that there were options for other guys. We missed some shots early, but they played great defense in the first quarter, and I felt that they really put us out of our offense a lot.
How about you? Do you feel like this team is a playoff contender now? You sure played like it tonight in the second half.
Well, we've beaten some good teams. We've beaten a lot of first-place teams that were first place that week. We're getting contributions all the way down our bench, and a lot of people don't notice that. I think that we do have some depth, and we're getting a lot of contributions from everybody. So if we get into the playoffs, everyone will have some court time, under their belts.
Well, what's the magic number now after this win against the Kings? How many games do you have to win to get into the playoffs?
Well, we're really going one game at a time. I think 13-13. Some teams will probably get in with 12-14, but right now with 13 wins and 8 losses, we're going against Townsville next weekend. That's our toughest game of the season because it's our next game. And then we have Brisbane, Adelaide twice, and Perth. I think we have a real tough road ahead of us.
Well, congratulations. You played a great game tonight.
Thank you very much, Steve.
All right, Billy. All right. Back to you, Billy.
Thank you, Steve, and thank you, Andre Lafleur. Yet another sensation at the Sydney Entertainment Centre, and the stats evened up a lot in the second half. The Hawks improving their three-point shooting, which was down in the first half. Field shooting improved, but the Kings really sagged. They were shooting 60% at one stage. They still managed to out-rebound the Hawks convincingly, but turnovers hurt them terribly. Top scorers Bruce Bolden tried his heart out, but foul trouble in the third quarter cost him 30 points, topped all scorers for them. Damien Keogh also tried very hard. Melvin Thomas, he had a fairly slow start by his standards, but really dominated against, well, a bunch of big men on the Kings front court. Andre Lafleur orchestrated the whole thing, and Chuck Harmison got a lot of those mid-range shots for his 20 points, and Terry Johnson and Dean McDonald did very well in the second half. Congratulations, Illawarra. Big movers in the 1995 Mitsubishi Challenge. We'll be back with more on Sunday Basketball.
Don't ever stop.
And welcome back to Sunday Basketball. We've still got plenty, so hang in there. Some of the league stars will hit the road. Timmy Bailey went along, and we have the Magic Man revealing the team's latest recruit. It's a big one. Well, it's kind of a little one too. First up, though, we have the games.
Uncle Toby's proudly presents highlights from the games of the week.
Well, Brisbane picked a pretty bad time to embark on the Doomsday Double. Only 2 teams had ever won both games, and to make it worse, Adelaide and Perth have been in great form. Friday, the Bullets took on Adelaide. Last night, it was the Wildcats' turn.
Last night's loss to Adelaide resulted in Brisbane handing over top spot to Perth, and with matches against the current 3rd, 4th and 5th place teams in the remaining weeks of the season, the Bullets needed a win. James Crawford's season's average of 16 looked in trouble when he dunked, shot and blocked his way to 13 points in the opening 5 minutes. Brisbane were methodical through Leroy Loggins and in particular rookie sensation John Rillie. Both teams executed their offence pretty well, backed up with sound D. At quarter time, Brisbane by 4, 31-27. Perth snatched back the lead with 3 three-pointers courtesy of Martin Catalini and 2 from Anthony Stewart. Not to be outdone, Loggins' 15th point found the net and the lead. Trehair got into the act and Ricky Grace fully tested out his injured ankle as more headliners combined to put the scoreboard pressure on Perth. The feature of the quarter, though, was a 3-point shooting, which led to 71 points being scored. At half-time, Perth 66, Brisbane 63. Adrian Hurley wanted more defensive intensity in the 3rd quarter. He got it, and with it came more fluency in offense, better spacing, and a 12-point lead.
There's that man Hill popping up with a 3. They don't want him to get too high. That was his first score of the night, believe that.
Brisbane steadied, but struggled to peg back the deficit. With a quarter to go, Perth by 13, 97-84. Robert Sibley's inspirational 8-point for the 4th quarter triggered an aggressive fight back by a hustling D as Brisbane went on a 20-6 run and a 1-point lead, 104-103. The 2 teams then went blow for blow with 8 lead changes in the last 3 minutes. Crawford's free throws gave them a 1-point lead, and Trehair's 15th point sealed the game. Brisbane were courageous, while Perth overcame a psychological barrier when under siege, and their prize, sole top billing.
Terrific match, this one. Like a grand final, do you mind?
Well, who knows? Shane Heal had a season-low 6 points, which gave him just 19 for the entire weekend. He's been averaging 25 per game. Perth outshot Brisbane 48% to 27% from the 3-point line, courtesy of 4 of 6 from Anthony Stewart. Perth have now won all 6 matches this year that have been decided by 3 points or less. They are tough, in other words. Continuing his mad scramble through the league's loopiest characters, Tim Bailey managed to survive a few loops of Sydney's Eastern Creek racetrack. The result? Hair-raising.
Ah, yes, the basketball court. An adrenaline pit of noise and high performance. Somewhere to see fast breaks and burning rubber.
You passed him again!
Somewhere a million miles removed from Eastern Creek Raceway, where noise and high performance, fast breaks and burning rubber sure ring a bell. Well, this is where basketball and bitumen comes together. Dribblers trying to be drivers. Enter Damien Keogh, 400 game NBLer. Put him in a 2-litre Super Tourer. Wind it up to 250 kilometres an hour. Throw him into a savage corner. And, well, he's thinking more about slamming on the brakes than slam dunking. Damo, a few butterflies in the tummy?
Absolutely. I mean, we're just pulling a couple of G-forces going around that corner out of the straight, and it's just amazing. Thank God for seatbelts, but the stomach was churning, but exhilarating ride.
Can you draw a parallel between that and what you do?
Not in terms of speed. I'm not renowned for my speed, but I think you'd have to say it'd be like standing on the free throw line with scores tied, 1 second to play in front of 10,500 people and having to pot a winning basket. I mean, that's what it's like. No wonder these guys get into it, mate. Speed thrills.
Eastern Creek is a long way from the free throw line, although Keogh is a guard about to find top gear. Whether he likes it or not, that's another question. So it's pedal to the metal, coming through the blender. Theo's Reeboks have never gone faster, and I think his pants are off to the dry cleaners. Then it happened. There was always going to be a downside to this story. My turn. This is all about straight line speed, 250 kilometres an hour, 230 going round corners. This is all about raw courage, putting your life on the line. Just one question, what am I doing here? One-on-one, a car and a coward, flat chat at the creek. Even at 250 k's an hour, an engine roaring like a jet, I could still hear Theo laugh. Starting to puff a bit. Get a little bit nervy. Making an extra precaution. Really a little bit nervy. You puff and you pant. It's like you're free-falling when you go into corners. What part of the words "never again" don't you understand? Then it was big Bruce Bolden who hoped the tyres were holding. Speed's your game?
It will be today. Normally, I'm just sort of a laid-back, cool sort of guy, but today, hey, let's do it.
All right, get in there, son. That mad mob they call race drivers talk about G-forces. Keogh, Bolden and Bailey now know what they mean. G-forces. Gee, it's good we're still alive.
Our next game is rather similar. Another death or glory affair for the Sydney Kings, fighting to squeeze into the playoffs. Top 4 prospect Illawarra has collected some pretty big scalps in recent weeks, and during that streak gave the Kings a walloping they won't forget in a hurry. Would this be revenge or the absolute condemnation of Sydney's season?
It was the best start for Sydney this year, shutting down the Hawks with a mix of full-court pressure on playmaker Andre Lafleur and a zone. Kings up by 31-16 at one stage. Trimmingham was in great form. Alley-oop! A rare play for the Sydney Kings, but that one was a pearler. He had 12 points for the quarter, and the Kings were cruising. Second quarter, and marvellous Melvin Thomas produced the dunk of the year. Up on Withers, they double team in, but he makes a sensational baseline dunk.
Oh, watch this spin move, baseline.
Swapped hands in the process.
Pow!
Oh, wow.
This is like Batman.
But the Kings still kept the lead. In fact, it blew out to 17. And they were out rebounding the Hawks 2-1. Andre Lafleur tried to lead the Hawks back repeatedly, only to concede more points on transition. Sydney led by 13 at the long break, their biggest halftime lead of the year. But then in the third quarter, a huge run from the Hawks. Andre passed his 2,500 NBL points, and Melvin Thomas's three gave them the lead for the first time in the game, 64-63. The Kings tried hard to regain momentum, but the Hawks' playmaker, Andre Lafleur, would not let the game get away. Melvin Thomas, tied to an unfamiliar 7 boards for the game, was carving chaos inside. The Hawks also continued to lift their perimeter game. Once their lead moved into double figures, that was it. With players like Harmison and Dean McDonald contributing, Illawarra sailed away to a certain date with the playoffs. Well, it was the Hawks' best ever second-half comeback. Melvin Thomas unleashed 25 second-half points, his best second half for the year. He also hit 11 of 11 from the line in that period. Sydney out-rebounded Illawarra 52-39, but they committed 23 turnovers to 12, most of those, of course, in the second half. Well, the big matches just keep on coming. Geelong and North Melbourne were headed for a collision at the arena. Last year at this venue, Mark Leader sank a buzzer-beating 3 to kill the Cats. Well, this time Geelong simply had to win it.
A depleted Geelong side was minus import Joey Wright, Andrew Speldennis and Cecil Exum. But it paved the way for others like Greg Smith. Smith on the drive, in off the glass, confident stuff, young Greg Smith. Jeff Arnold stamped his authority on the game early and the Supercats led. Arnold! Hey! It was tough, Johnson feeling the effects.
We see Rod Johnson caught one in the mush.
With the Cats' season on the line, they were attacking at every opportunity and led by 9 points at quarter time. The start of the second term saw the Giants step up a gear. He drives strong through traffic. Matt Shanahan for 2. Midway through the term, they hit the lead. Gent, the game-high scorer, with 20. Great outlet pass.
Oh, my! Oh, now that was handy.
Protecting an 8-point half-time lead, the Giants' quick transition extended their advantage. The Supercats looked outside for scorers, but the Giants were just too slick, answering every challenge. Great start! The last quarter saw the Giants' advantage grow. The same can't be said for the courtside Flowers. Graham, great stuff, Jen. Ooh, hit the hoarding, the pot plants, someone copped it.
Oh, that would have hurt.
The buzzer couldn't have come quick enough for Geelong. The Giants back on the winners list with a 13-point win.
Wow, the Giants held a remarkable 54-31 rebounding advantage. They also took 92 shots to the Supercats 79. Chris Gent had a 17-point second quarter, spearheading a 33-16 Giants turnaround after Geelong did have a lead in that first break. Well, we've got more, including highlights from the other games, of course, and plenty more to come. The Magic Act that produces quality NBL players, including little ones too, and this.
Hey, which way to? Come on up.
Take flight.
Come on.
Live it. Breathe it. Slam it. Dunk it. Do it, Falcons.
Take off with the Carlton Newcastle Falcons as Rucker returns to the Newcastle Entertainment Centre with the Townsville Sun, Saturday, August 26. Action starts at 5:30 with the final of the Rebel Sport Primary School Knockout. So get your tickets now from the centre. Ticket Tech or phone charge on 212121.
Do it.
You got a smile so bright. You know you could have been a candle. I'm holding you so tight. You know you could have been a handle. The way you swept me off the feet. You know you could have been a broom. Well, you could have been anything that you wanted to. And I can tell the way you do the things you do. The way you do. Oh, baby.
Newcastle continued its weekend road trip in Melbourne, where the Magic were trying to restore their championship lead. Adonis Jordan was busy as usual. His matchup with Butch Hayes, one of several features of this great game. But this matchup was perhaps the key. Reggie Smith against the Magic front line. The home team led 30-28 at the first break. Little miss there, but nice clean-up from Darren Lucas. Newcastle made a big move in the second quarter. Butch gets Sean Dennis free off the penetration for a perimeter shot. They led by 8 at half-time. John Dorge was having a great contest with Reggie Miller. Here he is. Fadeaway jump shot over the top. Mike Johnson hit 4 first-half threes. That was one of them. Tony Ronaldson answering, coming through, had 8 in the second quarter and 11 in the third. Sam McKinnon with a little jump shot, banks it, and the Magic is on the way back. They outscored the Falcons in the third quarter. Smith and Dorge go at it again. Reggie missing the shot, tips it in. He's happy about that one. Was this a goaltend? I don't think so. It hit the rim first, but the rest blew it up anyway. Another one-on-one win for Long John. This was a great climax. Here he is posting up on Smith. Over the top, down it goes. And Ronaldson also having a great tussle. Look at them go at it, 1-for-1. And there's Ronaldson with that big bomb. And the Magic are still in this game. It was so close. Kruger gets inside for 2. A little bit of mismatch there. And Adonis gets 2 of his fairly quiet 14 points, but he kept Butch to 16. The Falcons survive. Well, don't get too excited. Reggie Miller wasn't playing in that game. I meant Reggie Smith, of course. Tony Jensen passed 1,000 NBL points. Good on you, Tony. 7 Newcastle players scored in double figures. 6 Magic players also hit 10 or more. They are 2 very good teams. Since the Magic formed in 1992, the Falcons have won 3 of their meetings, and they were all by just 2 points. A few weeks back, South East Melbourne coach Brian Goorjian decided he didn't need Scooter Barry for his second import spot. They don't even have a second import. Now we know the real reason Brian had lined up a new signing, a top secret talent who could be the Rookie of the Year. Who else but the Magic Man to tell us the details?
Thanks, Bill. Look, I don't know if you've heard about the youth policy in Magic, but I think Brian Goorjian's gone a bit too far. Follow me in this way.
Jamie, what do you think we should do about Andrew Gaze and Leonard Copeland? Parkinson. Play Parky more? Yeah, he'll agree with you on that. That's not a bad idea. I think we're thinking about doing that a little bit tonight. Get him in there to shoot the 3. We're going to need that. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, I'm sorry, Brian, about this. Jamie, you better come through. Please, have a good game tonight.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Hey, Jamie, thanks for the tips. Thanks for the tips.
Say goodbye. Bye-bye, Brian. Bye-bye. So bye-bye, Tony. Bye-bye, Tony. Have a good game, Tony.
Bye-bye. See you later.
Sorry to interrupt. Have a good game, boys. I think Brian has gone too far, Jamie. You've got to come with me, all right?
Good afternoon and welcome to Sunday Basketball with the sensational news that the South East Melbourne Magic have added a new player to their roster for today's game against the Tigers. Jamie de Boucherville is just 2 years old and knee-high to a grasshopper. He's only light in the weight department, but by all reports, very athletic and elusive. Let's go courtside for the introduction.
Please welcome out Jamie de Boucherville. Let's get ready for Wiggle.
Get ready to wiggle. We've been ready for so long. Get ready to wiggle. When you wiggle, go wrong. Get ready to wiggle. Wiggle will make you big and strong. Get ready to wiggle. Wiggle to this song. Wiggle to this song.
It's wiggle time.
Now we're ready to wiggle. Wiggle your fingers high in the sky. We're ready to wiggle. Wiggle your ears and wiggle your eyes. We're ready to wiggle. Wiggle your hair and wiggle your nose. We're ready to wiggle. Wiggle on 10 toes. Wiggle on 10 toes.
Well, I tell you what, Bill, it's been a very big night here for the Magic. A big win, and of course, all down to the brand new recruit of the Magic, Jamie, and the big Magic Man saying a very, very, very good night. Bye-bye. Let's wave goodbye, Jamie. Bye-bye.
Thanks, fellas. Get them young, bring them on. That's Brian's policy. Well, now the Gold Coast. They have had a few problems this year. They take on Canberra on the second leg of its Sunshine Swing. This was a landmark game for one of the league's promising players. John Zaghetti had an 8-point first quarter. Nice little fadeaway jump shot there, rolls down, and he kept that form going for the entire match. Peter Hill also made a fine comeback from injury, and the Gold Coast led by 10 at the first break. Second quarter, and look at Brett Flanagan. He dug the Spurs in. Cofield had been kept scoreless. Scales had only 2 points, and Brett was, well, a little displeased, and the result was fairly good, though. Good ball movement from the Cannons. Wachowski finally left alone on the perimeter and strokes the 3. Now, Hill and Zaghetti combined very well on this play. Hill dishes it. Zaghetti hits another jump shot. But Canberra, though, was coming back. They trailed by only 6 at the long break. Perlman hits a 3. Scales also picked up his scoring. Nice penetration from Cofield. Scales with a bit of room, skirts the D and jams. Cofield, however, scoring-wise, was the big improver. He hit 11 for that quarter. Here's 3 of them. Now, another nice play. Cofield again sets up a jam for Simon Dwight. One of several big plays as Canberra went into the final quarter, only a few points down. And from there, they outscored the Rollers 29-23. Cofield pots another 3-pointer. Uncontested, banks it, but he called it anyway. Torrance was active as usual, runs off the screen, hits a 3. They were still in this right to the end, the Rollers. Canberra's desperation, though, finally produced a win. Close hits there. Herzog fouls out. He failed to score in the last quarter. That was a big factor. Perlman, though, finishes off a very gallant Gold Coast with a 3. Freddie Cofield set a new Canberra assists record with 19. He hit 7 of 11 three-pointers in the end. John Zaghetti, though, had a career-high 31 and was 2 assists away from a triple-double. They were deserved sharing of the MVP. Semi-final time in the Women's National League. Last night, Adelaide Lightning fought the Flames for the first grand final spot, and we go to Adelaide for this one.
On paper, Adelaide Lightning were always going to be tough opponents for Sydney in the major semi-final. Unbeaten at home this season, the Lightning's casualty list included 2 victories over the Flames.
She's got the bit between the teeth.
She's having a superb start to this game.
Shooting in the first half hardly a feature, both sides potting only 33%. Then Michelle Brogan began finding range.
Another one from Brogan and it's in.
Sweet. First three-pointer of the game.
Captain Robin Marr kept the Flames firing. The score 30-all at the break. Michelle Timms competitive as ever despite playing with a hand injury. Her determination giving the Flames a 3-point lead, then extending it further.
Yes, the first three-pointer goes down from Michelle Timms.
Sydney tried the zone but couldn't keep Kingy out. With the lead changing hands several times, the game turned nail-biter.
And if this hits, yes it does from Timms. What a three-pointer. She levels the scores.
63-all with just minutes left on the clock. Both sides were feeling the pressure. Joe Hill gave Adelaide breathing space. With the Flames flicker fading, Lightning ran home with a 10-point victory and a place in the finals. They'll now play the winner of the Flames and Tigers clash. Melbourne qualified for the prelim final playoff after downing the Perth Breakers on Friday night.
That's 3 baskets in a row from Alison Cook. Could be decisive.
A week of injury and illness to 6 Perth players took its toll on court. Melbourne steamed to a 20-point lead in the second half. Stevens unfazed by the deficit.
Excellent work from the Melbourne Tigers captain Joe Metcalf. She's had an outstanding game.
Tigers captain Joe Metcalf in brilliant form, top scoring and sealing the final basket of their 21-point victory.
Well, we said it would be all season, but it will be a great conclusion to the WNBL. Right now, let's recap all the weekend results, and you'll see that Adelaide in the Mitsubishi Challenge began what was going to be a very bad weekend for the Brisbane Bullets. Newcastle, the opposite. They were starting a weekend double win. Melbourne Tigers knocked off North Melbourne and Townsville had a win, which they often do these days. Perth won in the second of the Brisbane games. Newcastle made it 2 wins on the road. North Melbourne split their weekend after winning in Geelong. And in the other 2 results in the Mitsubishi Challenge, Canberra beat the Gold Coast. They needed that one, splitting the Sunshine Swing, and Illawarra knocked Sydney into oblivion. All right, time now to check the ladders. A 7-game winning streak for the Perth Wildcats leaves them on top, but after that, well, you can't say it's not close. 1-4, the Magic, in their last 5. Despite that, they are still holding down second place. That's how intricate this competition has become. Illawarra's on a 5-game winning streak down there in 6th place, and you've got Melbourne 9-2 at home, but 3-8 away. So they're at the wrong end of the top 8 if you look at it that way. Canberra finally snapped that losing streak, but they're still at long odds to get into the 8, and everyone else has got no chance whatsoever. All right, now, women's results on the weekend. Melbourne Tigers had a win over the Perth Breakers in the first of the semi-finals. In the other one, we've just seen Adelaide beat the Sydney Flames, setting up some big contests next week. Well, at least one. Sydney taking on Melbourne. Next week, we've got that game for you. We'll have highlights on Sunday basketball. Friday night next week in the Mitsubishi Challenge, 2 great games. And on Saturday night, we've got even more. The only one that really doesn't matter is Gold Coast versus Hobart, but they have a lot of future to think about. That's it. You think about sports tonight with me later on, and I'll be back next week for more of the action in the basketball leagues around Australia. Goodbye.
Absurd, and death's the final word. Life's a laugh and death's a joke, it's true. You'll see it's all a show. Keep 'em laughing as you go. Just remember that the last laugh is on you.